Hello and welcome. We are in the LMDH 2023 season. The Porsche has 0.9 higher PR than the Acura, so you'd think it would be the car of choice, but it's not. I actually find the Acura is a better handling car, and in a recent time trial competition we had, it was the fastest of the cars. Although the Porsche is still very good, the Acura just out edges it a bit when it comes to handling, I find. So at a Laguna Seca here, this is actually one of my favorite tracks. I really hated this track when I first started out, but it became one of my favorites. I love the flow of this track, and I love the corkscrew because you can jump there. And this is going to be a long endurance race. I was asked to test this out, and yeah, if you're going to suggest I try out a race here, I'll probably do it because I really like this track. So the only cut I'm going to take is going to be coming up right here at the corkscrew. Boom, boom, you gotta be careful. You're gonna see some crazy stuff happening there. So you do have to drive this very aggressively, and we've got to see, like, is this gonna be profitable? So when it comes to farming, that is racing just to earn currency, anything you do eventually becomes boring. So a lot of times people will say, well, why would you do this when you could run the 20-lap race? Exactly. The 20-lap race is going to be faster. Probably it's going to be better earnings than this time-wise. That's what we're going to find out today. But it gets really boring after a while. Oh, that's interesting. Sloppy on my part. The problem with those 20-lap races in the Invitational Series is that there's just no challenge. Like, you can lap everyone twice. It's not too difficult to do that. So it just kind of gets boring after, oh my! Well, there's a mistake. That happened because I was steering hard left and my vehicle got off the ground. And then it's just gonna snap around. So like I was saying, with the invitational races, you can set some goals. Like you can say, well, okay, I'm gonna try to get best this such and such a lap time. Or I'm going to try to finish the whole race in such and such minutes, or I'm going to try to overtake, 60, 70 cars. And all that works. It all gets boring after a while. So then something like this, where you've got to race at a very high level the whole time. If you get too sloppy, you're going to run out of cars. So this forces you to really stay engaged in the game. And all of that can be interesting. So surprisingly, what a lot of people don't know is if all you want is to earn 250,000 M dollars as fast as possible, you actually need to go do an autocross in the 2022 Formula One series, in the Invitational Series. It's bizarre. It's an autocross at Monza. Despite all the loading time of in between the races, that's the fastest way to get $250,000 M dollars. It is mind-numbingly boring. I believe you have to do 53 races if you place first every single time. And the problem is, if you have the preferred cars for Formula One, they actually aren't as good at that particular autocross because you're full throttle from beginning to end. So, lesser PR cars that have a higher top speed but lower lap times are actually better there. Completely bizarre. And it's just, I did it once to make a video. I never did it again because it was so mind-numbingly boring. It felt like I was there for 3 hours, even though it was definitely nowhere near that much. I'd much rather do something like this. Oh, I got stuck on the sand. I didn't want to pull over too fast to the left and snap my vehicle loose. Oh, and I got to avoid front end damage as long as possible. That I purposely did that. I realized I was going to encounter that guy. So I've already made several mistakes before reaching the perpetual point. And so that's going to be interesting. The first time I did this race, I actually found it easy. And then my second time, it's like, oh, it's hard. What did I do wrong? So I realized I got too sloppy. And this is the third time. I usually do some training just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say, like, maybe I had one perfect run and I'd say, oh, this is really easy. And people say, this isn't easy, this is brutal. So I do want to say that you've really got to have Laguna Seca dialed in this car. You're going to see I'm driving it very aggressively, and so you can't be really sloppy. You definitely can't be taking a bunch of contact, and you might be asking, why is this guy cutting the corkscrew every single time? Well, that's, ooh, nice jump. That's because I've got to pass 42 cars as fast as possible. If I don't pass 42 cars fast enough, the cars run out, which is what you have experienced many, many times at every single endurance race. That's the whole point. Now, there are a handful of tracks in this game, a handful of races where you can keep it on track the entire time and still turn it into an endless endurance races. Very few like that. There's a handful at Melbourne. There's one at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And there are some races, like there's some Porsche short track races where you don't have to take cuts, like McLaren MP4X. And oh, there's another one I did recently. I can't remember what it was now. But it was just so fast that it's like, oh, you could skip the cuts and you'd still be okay. Okay, let's go through the corkscrew again here. Again, I'll try to set up a fun jump. This can be crazy. In the air, and oh my goodness. Oh, that's crazy. Let's back this up. I usually don't do this, but let's just see. One bounce, another bounce, and oh, I see. I wasn't expecting it just to keep bouncing. And I was steering to get back on track, but like I said, if you're steering hard when you go into the air, the car can spin around really quickly. Oh, is that ever bizarre? I mean, it's like I had basketballs for tires. This thing was just bouncing everywhere. Okay, so that back end looks horrible. You would think that would hurt my handling. It actually doesn't. The only thing that really is going to hurt your handling is usually a cracked windshield. You can get away with a shocking amount of damage before you, like everywhere else in the car, before it hurts you. If you get enough side damage, though, it will slow down your car. But generally, it's front-end damage that's going to hurt you. So despite how horrible this looks, and it's like rattling loose, like that would be, oh, my car would be a mess. So I've now made some big mistakes before even hitting the perpetual point. And let's just see. That'll give you a good indication of how easy or hard this is. You probably shouldn't take it as fast as I am. I need to slow that down a little bit. When you're doing endurance racing, like, it's fun to jump there, don't get me wrong. Oh, this is dangerous, watch. There you go. I had a feeling it was going to happen. So you got to be prepared for that. If you pass someone right when they're getting onto the brakes, they just won't. And the ghost will just go. It's very strange, but it's the best we've had for endurance bots since update 8.0, I think it was, when things kind of got messed up unintentionally. There was a mess for a long time, and this is about as good as it gets now. It's not as good as it once was, although, yeah, we went through a lot of different bot versions. We had Ghost Nitro for a while. We had a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, like, look at my clock. It's really low, very low, and there's the train, though. In fact, I think I was already catching it. So now the question is, can I refill it? Now, will this happen again? Let's see. Oh, I don't think it happened. Nope. So he was fully on the brakes by the time I passed him. It's very strange. It's like if you pass someone right when they're about to get on the brakes, then they don't. So we had a version of we had a version for a while where it was like Ghost Nitro, where you pass a bot and he would get a boost of speed and sometimes totally take you out. And then to try to solve that problem, they went to Ghost Dead Stop, where you passed a Ghost and he went full brakes in an instant, and it would look like they were getting sucked off the track. I actually thought that was hilarious, and I actually thought that worked, and that could have stayed that way. But then they fiddled with it some more, and so this is what we've kind of got, where they slow down and disappear the way they used to, but sometimes they Ghost Nitro and take you out. Okay, so you can see I'm refilling my timer a bit here. Let's warp ahead a ways to see how this works. And also with this car, I've just noticed this with cars recently. I mean, I must have seen this in the past, but in endurance races, I always wonder, what is my lap times? Like, how fast am I running? And in certain cars, you can see your lap times. Like, it's impossible to keep track of your lap times here like this, like, because I'm overfilling the timer sometimes. So there's just no way to know how fast I'm running. If my timer wasn't overfilling, I could try to remember how many cars I passed and subtract that, but that gets risky. Well, it's not that it's risky, it's just hard to keep track of. But when you're overfilling your timer like this, I have no idea. So all you've got to do is switch it to driver view as you go across the start-finish line, and that will let you see your lap times. Now, this lap time is horrible, so, I mean, let's just forget about that. That's horrible. Here you can see I was finishing this lap in just over 54 seconds, so that's kind of cool. That would have been lap 23. So I really like that. I've started checking that when I'm trying to see. Sometimes you're not sure if you're damaged or not. That could be an indicator. Sometimes you're not sure if your race lines are good or your braking points are good. You try something new. That's a good way to keep track of it. Or are you running competitively? Like, do you know how fast you would run in a time trial here in this car? And you can compare it to that to see, well, how fast am I running? Am I running Group A times? Very unlikely you're going to do Group A times with all this traffic. But you actually could do like lower Group B, Group C times. And I mean, of course, with the cutting, that throws it off too. But it gives you a reference point. You can check your lap times and have a nice reference point. Ooh, get a nice toe on this guy. I love the slipstreaming. Oh, wow. That was a fast lap. Just a pinch over 53 seconds. That's pretty good. So definitely, I don't think I'm actually damaged. Oh, well, there I'm really super wide, but I overtook him. So I'm not going to go... if I go 137 kilometers, that would hit $250,000 M, I think. I'm just going to go to 100 kilometers, and we'll just see what happens there. This is not in the Invitational Series. Oh, this car doesn't have one. So like exclusive series / Invitational Series, those are what pay the best. So I'm a little leery about how much fame I'm actually earning. Ooh, now that was better. That was cleaner. And so when it comes to fame earnings, like Formula One cars, if you run a race in the Championship Series... Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, well. If you run a race in the Champion Series versus the Invitational Series, if it's the exact same race, you get about 3.3 times more fame in the Invitational Series. So that's why those just pay better. So same with Exclusive Series. They don't pay that same rate difference, but Exclusive Series pay more than regular series most of the time. Unless we're talking like original series. But that's usually where your best earnings are going to be. So Invitational Series really pay nice. Oh, look at my back end. It got even more dislodged. So with that major mistake, all those mistakes are really going to hurt my earnings per minute. So bear that in mind that when we get to those numbers, if I was running cleaner, it wouldn't look so bad. Okay, that was a good cut. You see that? I was mostly on track, and oh, that's no good. You hear that crunch? I will check the windshield in a couple of seconds here. Oh yeah, I've got damage. Oh well, the race is almost over. I'm going to end this at 100 kilometers. That's not going to skew my numbers too much. But again, I mean, numbers definitely got a bit skewed from the amount of times I got spun around, which means this isn't that difficult of a race. Definitely a lot of fun. So we're going to do a freeze frame at 100 clicks. Then I'm going to go back and end the race at that exact point. And there we are. So there you see me ending at that exact point. So fame per minute, horrible. 534. That's not very good. M per minute, not bad. 8,387. You're definitely going to do the Invitational Series faster though. So please like and subscribe. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.